and book finesse. Mix 'em up, that's your best. This is the best show. Guiding your souls to grow. Helping you find your flow.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to episode 2 of the Best Bet Show. I'm Best Bet Dan, your host. Thank you guys for joining me today. Super excited to be here for another episode. If you haven't already, do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you're on, listen to it on a podcast platform, and then make sure you're following me across all socials at Best Bet Dan, one word. So back in the studio, and I'm really excited for this show. On the last episode, we talked about just kind of the relaunch and kind of getting back into podcasting. I really do enjoy long form content. And so, it's good to be back on this journey and doing this type of work. And so, why did I write a book? That's what we're going to talk about today. Why did I write a book? What's the book all about? And what was the process like? What was it like to write a book, and how long did it take? These are all things that we're going to get into in this episode. So if you are an aspiring author, you definitely want to tap in, because I think I'm going to drop a lot of gems and nuggets that I learned the hard way, or I learned through my process, that I think will help you get to where you want to go. So, first of all, just starting out as a student athlete, man, I love sports. Like, competition and the ability and just competing has been something that has been so important throughout my life. Like, I thrive on competition. Like, I run and I live on competition. And so sports, just kind of naturally was a place where I could just manifest, right? That thing in me that wanted to compete, that wanted to be a winner. And so and the one thing, and this is the thing that inspired me to write this book, and this is where the genesis of it all. As I grew up later in life and got into my late 20s and into my early 30s, dang, I done been through my mid 30s. I'm in my late 30s now. It's crazy. I'm 37, but I realized that I missed out on so much in sports as a young person because I simply didn't know what I didn't know. And there weren't people that were teaching how to maximize their sport. And so, that's what inspired me. Like that's where the whole concept of get more from the game came from, because the game cost us. The game cost me 3 screws in my knee. I vaulted my tibia when I was 15 going up for a dunk at Summer League. And I still got those 3s in my knee to this day. So sports cost us so much, but there's so much we can get from sports. And so, I wanted to put this work into the world because I just felt like, man, like I can't be everywhere, right? So quick side note, or not even side note, but important part of the story, get more from the game started as a speech first. It was a speech, and my goal was to go to different high schools, go to different colleges, and do this speech. And unfortunately, I just couldn't get booked. Like, literally, like I was having such a hard time getting booked places, and it just wasn't happening. Now I'm like, how do the message was burning inside me. Like, I had to get it out there. So what do I do? Well, I could write a book. And it's wild because when I first thought of it, it was big and it was daunting. And it was just like, dang, I never wrote a book before. How do I just up and write a book? But I went to a little bit of YouTube University. I talked to some people that had already written books. And to be honest, like, I don't know, once I make up in my mind that I'm going to do something, it becomes less of if I can, but it becomes more of how. So, but more than anything, I wanted to help people like me. So when I say people like me, right? So there are some people that are just like, they are like extremely gifted athletes. Like, they could wake up, get out of bed, and just be phenomenal, be fantastic. Now, obviously, those people, they work hard too, and they train, and they do all of the things. They work harder than the next person. I mean, like Michael Jordan was not only a freak athlete, but he was an intense competitor and had a crazy work ethic, right? But like for people like me, like I'm a little tall, I'm 6'1", but I wasn't naturally over athletic, right? I didn't naturally have this great jump shot. And the reality is I just simply was not going to play at a super high level. Like it wasn't set up for me. I didn't have the connections. There was a lot of resources I didn't have, but I love sports. And so for the kid like me who loves the game, right? No matter what the game is, it could be tennis, it could be pickleball, it could be racquetball, it could be handball, it could be soccer, basketball, baseball, badminton, it could be golf, it could be cheerleading. It does not matter. If you have a passion for a sport, you should be getting more from it. And that's really the origin of this thing that welled up in me. Like, no, like I want kids in my position, and not just in my position, but because you could be a blue chip athlete. You could be that athlete that is going to be a protege and still get so much from this book. But yeah, so that was the whole genesis of the book. And the themes of the book is very simple. It's developing you, developing who you are as a person, developing your brand. But then it's also like, hey, what's happening around you and what do you have access to because you play this sport? And how can you create a better life and a better situation for yourself because you know how to play whatever game it is that you play? And that's really the whole thing for the book. So I'm going to get into the process of writing it. I'm going to talk about that. So, man. So the first thing I did do is I did outline the book. So I outlined the book and I knew where I wanted to go. But then I kind of hit a brick wall. And I hit a brick wall because I don't type fast. I'm not a good typer at all. And honestly, if I hadn't come up with some of the things that I'll share with you in a few seconds, if I hadn't come up with some solutions to really help me to like get my ideas like from out of my brain and onto paper, then I'm not sure that I'm talking about this book. Because the way I'm set up, if it's just me writing it, like, it might take me a very long time. But ultimately, what I did one day is I was using ChatGPT, and then I noticed the voice feature. And I was asking it questions or whatnot, but then I just simply asked. I wondered if ChatGPT would just transcribe my words word for word, like verbatim. So I tried it. And I think I talked for like 3 minutes at first, and boom, it recorded. It literally transcribed it verbatim. And if it wasn't verbatim because of just, my dialect and how I talk, maybe it got some words, incorrect, or because of slang and it didn't know all of that. It got enough of it where I could say, oh, this is what I'm saying. So boom, that was a game changer. That was the biggest game changer in this process, because I knew what I wanted to say. Again, this was already a speech, so I knew what I wanted to say. It was, again, I had to get it on the paper. So that was a huge part of the process, just leveraging artificial intelligence to do the transcribing. And I'll be very transparent. So I started by just giving it an outline, and I said, hey, make this into a chapter, but I hated it. Like I did not like what like ChatGPT like did to it in terms of like making the book from an outline. So I said, no, I don't want to do it that way. And no shade to people who do write, because there are people writing books that way. No shade to you guys. That just didn't resonate with me. It just didn't feel authentic to me. So I went with the verbatim transcription. And once I got it transcribed verbatim, from there I was able to now, okay, let me get into it and let me massage it. What do I want to say? What do I want to do? Like, how am I actually going to share the thoughts and convey what I want to convey? And so, I worked through that, and fortunately for me, I had a cheat code. I live with a wife and have a wife who is extremely good with editing and grammar. Like, that is like a superpower of hers. So I had someone in the house that was able to kind of go through stuff, and we worked through it together. And, hey, you might want to word this way or do this, or so on and so forth. So yeah, I wrote this book. So over the summer, I drove Uber a ton. I wrote this book while I drove Uber. So between rides, I would just record. I would just record and I would just talk. Boom. And it's funny, like I would feel so accomplished once I got the thought out. Because that's the biggest thing, is I needed the thought recorded. Because I have a thought, and prior to this and other instances in my life, I had been like notorious for having good ideas, but just not recording them, not doing anything with them. So now I've got good ideas, but the good ideas aren't getting to the world because I am not being a good steward of said good ideas. And so, that was a huge game changer. So from there, right, I got the whole book kind of boom what I wanted to do, and then it was the editing process. So my wife was huge with that. So once we got it all like, okay, these are going to be the chapters, this is what we're saying, blah blah blah, then it was boom, we went from there. So for me, because I just talked it, a lot of people say, man, you wrote a book in the summer, and I just use resources. I use the tools that allowed me to be efficient, right? And normally I would have never been that efficient just on my own. So, there were some challenges even still. I had moments where like I just didn't know what do I say? Like how do I bridge from here to here, or how do I wrap this thought into this thought? But, I just kind of I would take a few days off, to be honest. I would just walk away from it for a few days, just not touch it. And then I would be, doing whatever. I might be in the gym shooting. I might get that random, thought of inspiration. Boom. I just grab my phone and I'll just say it to the phone. And again, like I cannot if you're going to write a book or you want to write a book or you want to write anything, using AI to transcribe your thoughts and having your work be your own thoughts, complete game changer. And that's why I feel so good about marketing this book. Cause I said exactly what I wanted to say. I just used the tools to help me say it. The moments of joy. When my wife finished the last edit, like I can't even describe to you. Like I'm actually kind of like low key getting like goosebumps right now as I talk about it. It was surreal. It was surreal to like go back through it, read it, and like, this is a finished book. Like I'm going to publish this book. Like I'm going to have a book, pieces of paper bound together that someone can read and consume. And it was just surreal. So that was a huge victory moment. Another victory moment was when we submitted the book. So we published through Amazon KDP. It is a self-publishing platform on Amazon. And when we hit submit, that was major. That was another major milestone. We submitted the actual transcript. Another major milestone was submitting the album, album like I did a rap album, was submitting the cover art. So doing the cover art was, I did it myself. I used Canva to design it. And it was a very simple cover, but I felt like it stood out and it really did accomplish and embody what I wanted, where I felt like the book embodied. Very bold, very quick, very simple. And then, like when we, all right, so, man. So what happens with Amazon, right? When you create a book with Amazon KDP, you submit the text, they go through it, they approve it or whatever. And then your cover art, right? So once you submit your cover art, then from there you order a proof. And a proof simply is just a copy of the book. It's just like a copy so you can see how everything looked. And I set myself up because, so in my opinion, right, when I submitted the cover art, like it was done. Like this was it. Like everything looked great. And I just knew when I got this proof or this sample book that it was just going to be the finished product and it was going to be like it. And I was going to be like ready to go. Well, that proof came in the mail and that was not the case. So the cover art came out really, really dark and it didn't translate onto paper and onto the book the same way that it looked on my screen when I was doing it on Canva, when I was editing it and creating it. And so when I opened it, like if you go on my Instagram and you watch the video of me opening the book, like my face tells it all because I cannot hide any of my emotions because I literally wear them all on my face. But I was just like disgusted, like, this is trash. Like I really felt that way. And my wife, she was trying to read me. And again, you can go watch the video and you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But in my mind, I hadn't prepared myself to the fact that like, it takes a few times to like, get it right because you got to get the right. You have to get the right. What do I call it? You have to get the right shading for everything, and it's got to be. You got to consider what it's going to look like on the screen versus what's going to look like on print. So that was just a funny moment there where I was being transparent. I was 100% disappointed, and I was just like, dang, like. I was not happy with it. But so it took us a few more tries. I think on the third or fourth time that we submitted the book cover artwork is when once we actually got it to what it is today. But and again, I'm the epitome of impatient. So I had to learn and I didn't have a choice. I had to be patient because I mean we got to make sure everything's right. I can't release a book with a bad cover just because I want to sell it today. So yeah, there were different little ups and downs like that, and but overall, when we finally did get that one, that was it. We're like, okay, we gonna this is the one we're gonna take to the world. It truly was amazing. I don't know. It's I've been able to accomplish a lot in my life, so I've come to a space where when I say I'm going to do something, I do expect to do it. Like I expect that. But then every different milestone is different, right? To be able to say I played basketball, pro games and overseas, like I did that. I created my own app. It flopped, but I did do it. Um, I've had a lot of failures in my life, FYI. Maybe I'll do an episode one day on just all my failures. I'll try to add them all up. But no, I was ready and I was excited, but I also was sober and I was still very focused because even though the book was done and it was ready to sell, like the biggest challenge is selling it. Like I'm a self-published author, and as a self-published author, you don't have a publishing house behind you. You don't have a publicist that's pushing your book. Like it is up to you. Like if you don't hustle and get that book in front of people, like literally nobody will read it or nobody will buy it. Just because it's on Amazon doesn't necessarily mean that people will click buy. And so some takeaways for listeners or aspiring authors, write the book. You have all the tools. You have all the tools now. So whether you're a slow typer, slow writer, it doesn't matter. You can now put pen to paper as fast as you can say it. Find your AI tools that work for you. Again, I use the most popular one. I use ChatGPT. I use Chat helped me to get this thing going and figure it out. Stay true to your message. Know what you want to say. There were certain times when I was writing where I kind of felt the book kind of going off the topic, and I had to pull it back. I had to say, no, like I'm going somewhere with this. This book is not about this. It's not about that. Because at one point, I started to drift into NIL, right? So if you're not familiar with NIL, is name, image, and likeness, and how that all works for student athletes to be able to monetize and make money. Like I started to drift into that, but that's not really what this book was about. Now, if you use this book properly, can it aid you with NIL? Can it help? Yes, 100%, absolutely. Absolutely it can. But my focus, honestly, was like, this is for the athlete that may never get an NIL deal because they don't play for a team, or they're not, they don't have the notability to do such a thing. This is for the everyday athlete. And so I did have to keep myself on track to make sure that I was being true to the message and saying exactly what I wanted to say. And the journey was good. It was good. It was difficult at times. It wasn't too hard. I can't say it was like, it was arduous. It had its challenges, but ultimately, the biggest thing was just staying on track to complete it. Just staying on track. There was sometimes I didn't touch it for a week, 2 weeks. That absolutely happened during the process, but I had to come back and say, nope, we got to lock back in. We got to finish. I got my notes. It says, discuss the legacy you hope the book will leave. And to be honest, like I think something that's amazing is, so I knew my grandparents. I did not have the privilege to meet any of my great grandparents on either my dad or my mom's side. And not only did I not get to meet them, but other than a few pictures that I've seen, there isn't really anything left of them to say that they actually existed on this planet. For me, one of the things that, and I'm getting goosebumps again, getting ready to talk about this. It was amazing to me that because I did this, because I made this work, because I put this book together, I've created a space where 4 generations from now, I'll have kids that'll be able to know my thought. Oh, not great kids, but I'll have great grandkids that'll be able to know my thoughts. That's a game changer to me. To me, like, that is something that every time I think about it, it is extremely encouraging. It's sobering to know that they have an inheritance, right? And I'm not talking about inheritance with money. I hope I leave them something. I hope I'm able to have something go down in a few generations. But outside of that, there's an inheritance of information. There's an inheritance of, wow, this is what great granddad was. This is what he was about. This is who he was. This is how he thought. And I think that's really cool. I won't be here to hear those conversations. I won't be here to, enjoy it. But I just think it's cool to think into the future. And so that's what I think about it when it comes to legacy. I do hope and I do believe that this book will become a book where it'll become similar to what Rich Dad Poor Dad has become to financial literacy. I believe that this book has the ability and has the information to become that type of like perennial like bestseller, where it's like, no, if you're an athlete, you need to read this book because this is going to show you how to get more from that game. And so, yeah, shout out to my wife who, outside of me, she was the next person that played the biggest role in this book. I want to shout out Valerie Sykes because Valerie is an author and she is like an editor, like she has a business where she does this. And I gave my very first rough copy to her and she read it. And I'm not going, Valerie, you gave me the gas. Valerie, you gave, when you told me that this was a good book, it was over. Like I was on my Kanye. You couldn't tell me nothing. Like I knew, like, nah, this book is about to smack. And so, Valerie, shout out to you. Shout out to my kids for their part in the journey. I took a lot of time when I had to be away to write and things like that. So I love you guys, Camille, Maya, Josiah. Thank you guys. Shout out to my parents. They were huge in the process and just helping out with the kids and helping out with anything we needed at home. So shout out to mom and dad. But no, it was something really amazing. But no, that's what today's episode is. I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit about the book and about the journey. And hopefully next time I talk about it, I'll be telling you that we sold like 10,000 copies or something. That'll be fire. But I'm super excited. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet, do what you got to do. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that follow button. I want to hear your comments. I want to hear your thoughts. And if you're writing a book, tell me about it. Be accountable. Get some accountability. Stop keeping it in your mind by yourself. Tell people what you're about to do. So that way it's like, nah, there is no, oh, I might get to it. Nah, you got to do that. The world needs your book. So if you're listening to me and you got that book that's in here, you got to get it out of here and you got to get it on paper. You got to get it in one of these computers so you can make it happen. But I appreciate you all. Thank you guys for tapping in. And until next time, these are the skills. Yeah, we just want to give you the best bet to create and build the life of your dreams. You guys have an awesome day. I'll see you guys on the next episode. I'm out. Later.
Street smarts and book finesse. Mix 'em up, that's your best. This is the best show. Guiding your souls to grow. Helping you